Life is about to get really good for you. Life is about to get really good for you. It is officially what I'm calling shake back season. And shake back season is a window where you are going to recover and you are going to finally see yourself become and blossom in every way that you foresaw in your mind. It is such a time of acquiring, ascertaining, and laying hold of vision that it's not even funny. I think that the only thing that stands between you and the version of you that you know in your heart that you want to be is your emotional attachment to your last loss. If you are going to bloom, if you're going to thrive, if you're going to prosper, if you're going to recover, if you are going to heal, you have to sit down and address your emotional attachment to your last loss. There are so many people who could have been where they desire to be years ago, but we are too busy mourning the last loss, mourning the last layoff, mourning the last disappointment, mourning the last breakup. And I think that it is those attachments that become a hindrance and a stumbling block between us and our next place and our next level. I think that for me, I'll just speak for me in the context of my own life. I knew that there was a woman living in me that was suffocating. I knew that I had so much potential, that there was a version of me that was happy, there was a version of me that was healthy, there was a version of me that was thriving, there was a version of me that was in strong community, but that version could not exist because I was surrounded with all of the memories of my devastations and my disappointments. And I think that it was the environment that created an atmosphere that was impacting or discipling my worldview and my way of thinking. And so this is why I've been harping on some things about the mindset that it takes for you to change, the mindset that it takes for you to get to where you want to be. Because it's not always about a physical move, because you are you everywhere you go. I moved from Chicago to Charlotte and I'm still Tamara at the end of the day. So unless I make the decision to show up differently, to choose differently, and to decide differently, I will be me, whether I am in Charlotte, whether I'm in Nigeria, whether I'm in Ontario. And so it's not always about doing the drastic and doing the dramatic for the sake of dramatic and drastic. It's about you making the changes that support and uphold you being consistent in the type of decisions that you want to make. So every atmosphere that you connect yourself to has the power to impact and to disciple your way of thinking. And there are some people who the version of you that is trying to live but is currently suffocating would thrive if you gave it a new environment, if you gave it new community, if you gave it a new city, if you gave it a new diet, whatever. That is my point and my purpose. And I believe that as we head into the summer, it is shake back season for me and for many of you, which means a time of drastic clarity, a time of quality community, and a time of making the decisions that foster the type of the results that lead to you being the type of person that you want to be. I know that it probably gets old of me saying very similar things day in and day out, but it's what I believe in my heart of hearts. It's what's important to me. It's what I'm currently walking out and trying to live. As a woman in my mid-30s, I was unwilling to go through another year with regret, to go through another year with the shoulda, woulda, couldas as it relates to the disconnect between what I want and where I was. And a lot of times we have become way too comfortable playing the role of victim in our own life. The young folks call it, main character energy, meaning that we have to, in my definition, main character energy is you being willing to take responsibility for getting in the driver's seat of your own life. There is no way that you are the victim when you are in the driver's seat. You're not a child. You are not intellectually incapacitated. So you have the ability to get out of the back seat, the trunk for some of us, or the passenger seat, and get into the driver's seat and make the decisions that lead you down the path toward the life that you want to live. Okay? And of course it's uncomfortable, but being sick, unwell, lonely, and broke is also uncomfortable, right? So we have to really grow up and get past all of this conversation about discomfort and fear and blah, blah, blah. Those things are true, but at some point you either have to bust a move or stop crying about what you don't have if you're not willing to make the choices that lead you to what you could have, right? So it is shake back season, which means assessing what you do not want and stop reaching for what you do not want, assessing what you do want, making choices that lead to what you do want, 10xing your health so that you can sustain what you want. So signing up for whatever you need to sign up for so that you're the healthiest version of yourself, so that when the blessing comes, when the opportunity comes, when the window opens, you are prepared to hold it and to sustain it and not drop it, right? And to maximize joy in the process. Shaking back looks like recovery. Shaking back looks like recovery from disappointment, recovery from loss, and the willingness to recover from being silenced for a lot of people. You'll notice this subtle change, or if you're willing to make this subtle change, I believe that it will yield great benefits for you. Notice if you do this. Has anyone ever upset you or bumped into you or hurt your feelings, and you were thinking about how XYZ hurt your feelings or angered you or whatever? And if the person came back to you and addressed you about the situation and tried to apologize, I apologize, I'm sorry if my actions hurt you, whatever, inconvenienced you, whatever. If your first response was, oh, it's fine, it's okay, no problem, then you might be a person that has a track record of betraying yourself, self-betrayal. And if you struggle with self-betrayal, you will also struggle with self-trust. And if you struggle with self-trust, you will also struggle to take the risks that you need to take to be happy. I saw this in myself just this week. Someone reached out and said, hey, I had a moment of clarity and I realized how XYZ that I did could have negatively impacted you or hurt you. And my immediate instinct was to say, oh, it's okay, when it was not okay. And so I paused and I reflected and said, that's not an honest response from me. So let me say what is honest. And I let that person know, hey, yes, that is true. This is how I've been negatively impacted. But I also recognize you're a human with limitations. It's all love. I still appreciate you. But in ABC ways is how I was negatively impacted. You have to break the cycle of saying what is not true to other people and to yourself. Stop saying what is not true, because we want to be palatable. We want to be perceived as nice. We want to be perceived as the good girl. We want to be perceived as being a gentleman. We want to be perceived as being a good person. Being a good person does not require you to betray yourself. Being a good person does not require dishonesty. It's okay to say ouch if someone steps on your foot. Why do we think that if we shrink and become as small as possible, that will allow us to be more likable? And if we're more likable, we will find ourselves with more friends. When in reality, all that you're doing is lying to other people about who you are and causing resentment to grow toward those people and toward yourself. So if you are that kind of person, I encourage you. Next time something comes up in conversation, practice saying what is true and what is honest, even if it's uncomfortable. Not in a rude way, not in a disrespectful way, but say what is true. If you're disappointed, say that. If something hurts your feelings, say that. It's okay, I'm okay, it's fine. You are just building a culture of dishonesty internally and externally. And it can do nothing but bite you in the butt. So we're learning to advocate for ourselves, not to betray ourselves, and through those small practices to trust ourselves so that when it's time to make the leap, take the jump, or take more significant risks, we will be prepared because we're building up emotional capital by our willingness to advocate for ourselves, even in conversation or in small moments. But it is shake back season. And so what I'm living is that I believe wholeheartedly that between now and the time that I'm 40 years old, that it will be the most significant period of healing, growth, self-discovery, and change that I have ever experienced. I'm in my mid-30s now, so I have a couple of years. And that requires unlearning all of the small little, like, micro, I'll say even micro mindsets that have shaped who I am in a way that does not serve where I'm going. And that's the same for you. You are not as far from your goal as you think you are. You are not as far from that version of yourself that you want to be as you think you are. The version of you that is healthy in the mind, healthy in the body, healthy relationally, financially independent, sound and stable and successful in whatever way you define those things to mean for you. You are not as far as you think, but it is your willingness or your unwillingness to bounce back, to be able to recover in the middle, to be able to falter and then catch your breath, catch your step. It's not always about going back to day zero. I can't reset my adulthood back to age 18. I'm in my mid-30s. But what I can do is say, okay, but starting right here, right now, if that season was one step backwards, how can this season be 2 steps forward so that I'm still maintaining a culture of progress, right? And so I'm going to always talk about self-reflection, self-awareness, contemplation, in this journey of like self-actualization, because man, life is too short to be unhappy, to be unhealthy, and to not live in ways that can positively impact the world that we're called to contribute to, right? So those are my thoughts for today. That's what's on my heart for today. It's shake back season. So I don't know what you're working on, but we got to get our head in the game. And I'm not talking about just grinding, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking about operating from that place of like authenticity. I'm talking about operating from this place of identity. I'm talking about at my core, everything that I'm representing to you is who I am. I want us to get to that place where it's one to one. It's not I'm trying to be one way and project one thing, but privately. I'm another way. I want your life message and your life's work and whatever you're working on, whatever your project is for this season, to so mirror who you are and what you value as a person, that that you can really live and thrive in a way that brings you joy. I'm not willing to put any more hours into things that do not speak to who I am as a woman and who I am as a human and what I like. Like, I don't. So God has to figure out, how to align the provision and everything else. But I'm worried about authenticity. I'm worried about reflecting identity out into the world. And it's shake back season. So I'm excited for this summer, for the new relationships, for the new ideas, for creativity coming alive in me again. And I'm excited for your future, because I believe if you lean in, you will begin to bloom and blossom and thrive in new and wonderful ways. So, talk to you guys later.